Okay, Matty just posted a video, Starfield new gameplay breakdown. This is the thing we checked out on Wednesday's stream. It was the thing where like Todd Howard was giving a little speech, and then in the background they had people playing the game, and it was only in like 2-3 second snippets that we saw people playing the game, so it might have all been staged, but it was really funny, especially after all of the stuff we've seen with like the day before, where they have it set up and it looks kind of like somebody's a hostage from a terrorist organization, and they're playing the game and they have it set up very, very specifically. So they have the camera set up on the person, and then like, okay, I'm playing the game. As if that like sells you on the game. It doesn't make any damn sense. So I will give them credit. They showed the game actually running in real time. Nobody had a real question that this thing was like fake or anything, but I still appreciate it. It's a good touch. But let's see. Matty says this is a deep dive. That video was only like 2 minutes long. This video is a little bit longer. So let's see what it's like. By the way, if you have not already, make sure to subscribe to Mr. Matty Plays. He makes amazing stuff. Friend of the channel. We've made content together. He's done collabs with us and everything. He's a really good guy, so go show him some love and tell him I sent you.
So you saw the Starfield release date trailer and thought, okay, cool, I know when the developer direct is coming, I know when the game is coming. Didn't look like there were many details there. Then you saw the length of this video and said, dear God, what's wrong with this man? Is there actually more than I realized? The answer is yes.
It's funny because that's exactly what we just did, so I'll give him that.
There's a lot to take away from Starfield's release date trailer, and I'm here to show you all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here, you're into Starfield news, information, and breakdowns, you're in the right place. Consider subscribing. Let's not delay. Let's get into this Starfield release date trailer.
Are his earrings Pokemon or Pokeballs or whatever? That's hilarious, dude. What a good touch. Matty coming on with the fashion.
And break down everything it has to offer, including...
I'm sorry. I know we tease Matty about his production stuff every once in a while. It's because we love you, Matty. We love you. Okay, you're a character. What drives me crazy is this gap, dude. This gap. What are we doing? This like triggers my OCD so bad. We just grab it and shove it together. It shouldn't trigger me, but it does. I need to take a walk.
Including footage over the shoulder of Todd Howard, which is something I've never had to do before. Normally we ease into the crazy speculation, but this one is too tantalizing to resist. So right away you see this opening shot of a ship flying around a planet in outer space. It's alone, it's isolated, and you probably think nothing of it. It's just...
Is the fun fact that it kind of looks like a dildo? Because if you think I didn't think of that, you're very, very wrong. First thing I thought of. I look at most things and think they look like dildos. I don't. When I look at this, my immediate thought is, okay, is this a ship that the player can either fly or fly in? Is this a ship you can actually walk around in and explore? I don't know. Maybe he's got some news about it.
Just a shot to give scale. But actually, Reddit user Summon72 pointed out something interesting that led me down the rabbit hole.
Oh, Amuma. Ao Mau. I think that's what it is. This thing, if you don't remember this was an asteroid, alleged asteroid, that went around Earth like maybe a year or two ago, and it was shaped like a cigar, they said, and it was like spinning over itself really quickly, and it was like really, really crazy scary, and people were like, oh, it might be an alien ship, who knows, because it came in, it like orbited our sun and flung back out, so it was like a far distant asteroid that got propelled into our solar system somehow. And there was speculation it might be a ship, because people said that it seemed to be moving faster than it should be for just a spare object floating through space as a matter of just space debris. But yeah, there was speculation that it was perhaps a spaceship. What I will say, though, is that there's only so many shapes you can make a ship. I don't know if this is a reference to it. Maybe it is. But if it was like an actual reference to it, I think they would have it like spinning very, very quickly as a ship to be more in line with what it was. Because if I recall correctly, I think it was spinning very quickly, which is why they were weirded out by it. But I mean, maybe, or maybe it's just like a tubular ship. I don't know.
And I couldn't help but want to pass it on to all of you. He writes, it looks like Moi. Wonder if that was an inspiration, since the speculation was Moi was
Hold on. I'm sorry. I have to, okay? I have to. You can't get mad at me for this, okay? Hold on.
Moi. Wonder if that... And I couldn't help but want to pass it on to all of you. He writes, it looks like moi. Wonder if that...
Did I get it?
Moi.
I did. Okay, we're good. Yeah, this is what it was. What is it, Matty?
Moi.
Yeah, it is.
For those unfamiliar with this interstellar object, it is actually quite a phenomenon for the space community.
Sure is. When I first heard about
Moi.
I was really, really interested. I was captivated because
Moi.
is one. Sorry. Okay, I'll shut up. I have too much fun with this.
As for Starfield, it is
Who gave me a soundboard? Why am I allowed to have this? This is bullcrap.
pretty much the identical shape and size as the ship we're seeing here in the opening shot of Starfield. Now, what's very interesting is the meaning behind moi.
You're doing it right. You're pronouncing it right. There's nothing wrong with what you're doing. It's just such a funny word.
Moi.
Oh man. Oh, what a treasure. I want to find. So like okay, so this is what it was. So it was detected in October of 2017. So this is like, 5 going on 6 years ago. It's way longer than I thought. And it left, or its last perihelion was in 2017. Interesting. And it's named after the Hawaiian term for scout, because they thought maybe this was like a scout alien spaceship. My understanding, like, they never saw it. All they could really detect was that it was like, probably suggest, the properties suggest
Moi.
is dense, composed of rock and possibly metals. It has no water or ice, and that surface was reddened due to the effects of irradiation from cosmic rays over hundreds of millions of years. Let's see. They continued to track the fading object as it receded from our planet. 2 of NASA's space telescopes, Hubble and Spitzer, tracked the object traveling around 85,700 miles per hour relative to the sun. That's 38.3 kilometers per second for those of you who do not speak the president's English. The object passed Mars's orbit on November 1st and will pass Jupiter's orbit in May of 2018 and will travel beyond Saturn's orbit in January 2019 as it leaves our solar system.
Moi.
Will head for the constellation Pegasus. So, they never really saw details of it. Combining the images from the FORCE instrument on the ESO telescope, using 4 different filters with those other large telescopes, a team of astronomers led by Karen Meach, the Institute for Astronomy in Hawaii, found that
Moi.
varies in brightness by a factor of 10 as it spins on its axis every 7.3 hours. So all they're gauging is like the brightness levels. That's how they know it's spinning, because it goes bright, dim, bright, dim, bright, dim. And the only reason for it to be doing that is if it's rotating and spinning and spinning and spinning. So, no known asteroid or comet from our solar system varies so widely in brightness with such a large ratio between length and width. The most elongated objects we have seen to date are no more than 3 times longer than they are wide. So the fact that this thing was very long is really, really weird. It's up to 1/4 mile or 400 meters long and is perhaps 10 times as long as it is wide. So this is just what an artist thought it could look like. That's what they sketched out. It might look like this. It might look like a spaceship, but it's flipping over. So it's not like spinning tightly like a football. It's spinning and rolling over itself constantly. Okay. So I don't know. This is a little bit of a stretch to think that this is like a reference to that. If it were rolling and spinning that way, that would be much more believable. But I don't know if I buy this. It's still a cool connection to make, because
Moi.
was a really interesting thing, because it is really strange. Asteroids, we didn't think that they should be developing like this, but they do. I don't think it was an alien spaceship or anything, because it came in and then got propelled straight the F out of the solar system. which is kind of a weird thing. If it's like an alien spaceship, it's probably not being powered or controlled. It's just kind of floating. So I don't know.
Is how it got its name is that the University of Hawaii had discovered this asteroid, and what this means is a messenger from far arriving first. And NASA writes that this is the first known interstellar object to visit our solar system. So I just find it interesting that the first thing we see has the same shape, size, and look as an object that has the name that does mean a messenger from afar arriving first, when the whole game...
It's also, like we saw, it generally translates to scout, which is why they kind of named it Scout, because it's like, maybe it's a scout, maybe it's a messenger from afar, you know?
Is based around discovering what is out there in Starfield. Some have speculated this is the player ship, that it's been customized. That is possible. We don't know for sure.
I want to know how freaking big you can get these ships, especially because, like, the thing I'm most excited for, honestly, I've been playing a ton of Kerbal. I'm not even gonna twist it. I've been playing a ton of Kerbal, okay, and I'm really enjoying the space customization or the ship customization and stuff. So to be able to do that here is really intriguing to me. And with mods, I would guess that they just, like, whatever the limit is for this ship by default, you can probably unlock that and just make a ship that's like half a mile long. That's my hope, at least. So that actually gets me pretty excited. Like, if we're talking about hype, I don't know what the cap for size, ship size is going to be by default, but whatever it is on PC is probably going to get unlocked by mods, and that's going to be the place to play. Like, I'm all for that.
My guess, though, is that what we're watching here in the opening parts of this trailer is actually the very beginning of Starfield. Let's get into that next as I break that down. So this shot should immediately bring up some memories for those of you who have been tracking Starfield. For those who don't remember, this is actually a direct callback to the initial announcement of Starfield back in 2018 with Elder Scrolls 6 and Fallout.
2018. Man. It's been like 5 years since this announcement. You guys remember that? I think it was E3. They came out, they announced Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6 all at the same time. And that was almost 5 freaking years ago. It's insane. COVID is weird, dude. COVID came and it felt like that 2-year period, basically, when everything was insane, basically just like didn't happen. It feels like we went from 2019 to now. It's really odd. It's really, really odd. In a lot of ways, it feels like, you know, the snap or the what did they call it in Marvel? It was the blink or something. It kind of feels like that, where it's just like the time just disappeared. Yeah, humanity took a time out. The blip, that's what it is. The blip. Yeah, freaking weird, dude.
76, where we saw what many of us had speculated to be a satellite station of some kind, but it seems like some in-game dialogue has actually given us details on what this is, and heck, we even see the inside of
gosh darn heck
of it. So we hear someone say over the comms,
"This is Constellation Star Station LO868. Welcome aboard."
So now we know what we're looking at here is a Constellation Star Station. We know Constellation is one of the central factions in Starfield that's trying to figure out what's going on out in the galaxy. Now, again, I do believe this is the beginning of the game, as we see a figure on the right floating in towards the space station, and then the camera quickly pans into you entering the Star Station.
Wait, is that the same star? Is that thing that big? I thought this thing was just like the size of a regular satellite. I didn't think that this thing was like huge. But yeah, there is a guy. It looks like it's like the propelled thing.
Station.
And then it cuts to this. Is this really the same? Maybe it is. I guess it is. This thing's way bigger than I thought it was. I thought this was like maybe the size of a sedan. I didn't think that this is like actually like a space station size thing with like the little port for entering. In which case, this might not be a dude. This might be like, because if so, he's like super. It doesn't seem like he's that far away.
Galaxy. Now, again, I do believe this is the.
So this might be a whole ship. I don't know, man. But it's also space. So like distances and everything are really throwing me off. I don't know.
Beginning of
My brain hurts. My brain hurts. Salvador, thank you for the one, or for re-upping your membership. How's Avatar? Says, I'm late. Happy anniversary to us. Yes, indeed, my friend. Cheers, dilly dilly. I thought Avatar was pretty good. Pretty good. I can't stand the frame rate swapping. That drove me crazy. It like actually triggered me hardcore. But in general, it was a fine movie. The guy that played Spider looks like Kid Leroy. The whole movie, I thought I was watching Kid Leroy pretend to be like a monkey. It was really, really weird. And he also, I don't think is a very good actor, whoever that kid is. Like, there's moments where he's supposed to be like, oh my God, they're going to kill the mama whale. Oh no. He's supposed to look like kind of disgusted, but they cut to like the marine biologist who has a very subtle performance. And it's just like, you can tell he's uncomfortable, but he doesn't give a lot. And then they cut to Spider and he's just like show more teeth. It was really kind of uncomfortable to watch. I didn't really I wasn't a fan of his performance. But all told, I thought it was a decent movie. Not one I'll probably watch again for fun, but a fun like night out at the movies, I would say.
Game, as we see a figure on the right floating in towards the space station, and then the camera quickly pans into you entering the star station. And I believe this indicates the beginning of your adventure, because they're kind of setting up the backdrop of the mystery that we learned a lot about during the Starfield gameplay reveal in 2022. So as we enter this star station, we hear again the same person over the comm saying,
The eye is showing signs over another one of those big anomalies.
There's a sleeveless NPC working at the center, who I assume is the one that we are actually hearing from throughout this trailer. But the reason all of this is important is because now you take a look at the outside one more time.
Yeah, that's way bigger than I thought.
And you recognize this central location that's glass on the top almost serves like an eye inspecting parts of the galaxy, because they mentioned they're picking up anomalies. What are those anomalies? We'll get into it in a moment, but calling it the eye would also make sense again, because you look at it from the interior and you see this big glass roof that's almost peering out into space with a planet in the background, and suddenly it starts to come together a little bit more. But what exactly is this anomaly? Let's get into that next. Here we're seeing the surface of some type of rings. These rings are extremely important. Again, at the heart of Constellation are these artifacts here.
Sorry, that face is just so funny. That's like, I love it. Look at that. Is she not like giving you the side eye? It's weird.
And these artifacts, they believe, are keys to the mystery of what is out there, which is pretty much the entire theme that the game is built around. We'll start to see these rings rotate. Now, what I'm going to do is actually rip a section out of my gameplay trailer breakdown from last year to break down to all of you the importance of not only these rings, but the artifacts and what they mean for the coded chambers, like the one you see on Starfield's box art. In this shot of the Starfield reveal trailer, it says beneath a number of what I believe are artifacts, Alpha, Beta, and Chi, that, quote, debate in Constellation continues over the nature of the pathways, end quote. Beneath that, it says, quote, so far we have been unable to determine what happens at the center, end quote, with a variety of coded chambers. Perhaps these artifacts are the keys to the chamber that is locking away the mystery that Constellation wishes to solve. Perhaps the very chamber is the one that we see here in the Starfield cover art. That shot of the cover art is especially important right now, because then after a couple of shots of the planet as well as the rings, which by the way, this game looks absolutely gorgeous compared to anything Bethesda Game Studios ever made before, we see one of those coded chambers.
I will give them that. I do want to give them praise. I do think that what they've shown in this trailer is far more graphically impressive than what they did in the last like initial gameplay reveal. That gameplay reveal I thought looked really bizarre. It was overly contrasted. The dark sections were super, super dark. It was really tough to see any clear detail. It just didn't look very good. But this looks way, way better. So I'll give them credit where it's due. I think that this is a market improvement. Starfield could be like Elden Ring, where everybody talks about how great it is 4 months after launch and everyone trashes on it for months. or everyone trashes it for months. Maybe, yeah. I think either way, it's going to be a centerpiece of discussion because it's a big game, and these guys only release a game like once a decade. It seems like at this point, if you count. I mean, I guess not if you count Fallout 76, but whatever. These don't come out every once in a while, so it's kind of a big deal. And whether you love BGS or hate them, they are one of the most lauded studios in the gaming industry. So there's a reason people pay attention to them for sure. As for, I saw somebody ask like frame rate wise, they've not, as far as I'm aware right now, they have not confirmed or said how the game will run on consoles. PC, I'm sure it's unlocked. But as for console, all that's happened is like Todd refuses to say it, which probably, let's play like devil's advocate. I think probably what it is he's just not sure. They're trying to polish it. They're trying to get it so it performs better so they can hit 60. But if they don't get there, then they're not going to give you 60 and have it drop constantly, and they'll just lock it at 30. So he said that. What he has said, though, in interviews right around that same time he was being asked about this, was that he said he has no problem with 30 FPS for their type of games. Which, to be clear, I also don't have a problem. I greatly prefer higher frame rates, but you can clearly enjoy Bethesda games on lower frame rates, in my humble opinion. And some of the best games in history, as I said earlier in the stream, some of the best games in history launched at 30 FPS. In fact, I would even go so far as to say most of the best games in history launched at 30 FPS. So you can have a great game that runs at 30. Is it ideal? No. Is it what we would prefer? No. I'd rather have 60. I'd rather have 144. I would rather have 240. But if we get a great game that runs at 30, I'm not going to be complaining because I'll have a great game.
Chambers right here. The significance of this is not just the connection to the lore that we've unearthed in previous breakdowns, but rather that it's in an entirely different setting from the last time we saw it. The first time we saw one of these coded chambers before our very eyes was on a more arid region, we'll say, which was in Starfield's gameplay reveal of 2022. Now we're seeing another one here, and my belief here is that the player will start off the game in the Star Station learning about this anomaly. They'll then be brought to the anomaly, which is this coded chamber here, which will then give them visions, as we'll see later, and bring them to New Atlantic, where they will meet the rest of Constellation and begin investigating the mystery behind these visions, as well as what else is out there in the universe. Again, we're going to see a lot of similarities in this next shot to what we saw in 2022, just on a different planet. So here we're seeing the player enter the coded chamber, and within there we're going to see the rings that begin to unfold, much like we saw in 2022, where they had this big glowing aura within them. It's going to be much of the same here, except this time we're actually going to see the player character floating at the center of all of these rings. There's then this giant explosion, much like we've seen multiple times throughout Starfield promotion material, but in this case here, we see through the rings is the galaxy. And I think this is very important because, again, it's that what's out there mentality.
I mean, my impression was that it was a reference to the Big Bang. I was like, maybe they're trying to do this,
but
like...
in this case here, we...
Because it looks like a bang, does it not? And it bangs. Granted, it was more of an expansion than an explosion, but to me, I feel like this is the rings are giving you a glimpse into the beginning of the galaxy or even the universe. So that's at least what but I think the point is the same thing. I mean, it's the rings hold some key answer to mysteries of the galaxy or the universe. So I don't see that as a problem. I used 120 FPS one time a while ago, and it felt quite weird for some reason. Oh, really? Interesting. I don't know. I can tell the difference between 144 and 240, and I greatly prefer 240. I mean, I greatly prefer it. But I'm used to it, so that's part of it. Recommend me a monitor. Get the new 45-inch ultra-wide LG OLED. It's amazing. Not cheap, but very, very good.
You see through the rings is the
That's what I'm
galaxy.
using.
And I think this is very important because, again, it's that what's out there mentality where the rings are conveying some type of galaxy you should go out and explore. This is especially important because when you go back to the Starfield gameplay reveal, here's what someone had to say to you.
You dug up the artifact, right? That means you saw it. The visions?
They're always asking about visions, and here I think is the very first vision in the game that makes you go, we got to learn more about this, and you start meeting with Constellation in New Atlantis. Not only that, but in 2022's gameplay reveal, we see the player character stepping up to a set of artifacts, reaching out and touching them, and that same orange-like visionary explosion, we'll call it, happens again. So it's clear that all these are connected and are part of your investigation. I just personally believe this is the first one the player will experience at the start of the game, your opening vault moment, if you will. All right.
I would agree. I think that's fair. I'm sorry, all this talk of like visions and stuff, it just makes me wonder, like, how long after this game comes out do you think it'll be before Joe Rogan goes up and is like, so that new game Starfield's pretty crazy. It talks about visions, seeing the beginning of the universe. You know, DMT and mushrooms can give you the same experience. And then like he has a guest on to talk about it. I think it's probably just a matter of days.
Over Todd Howard's shoulder, yes, I'm serious, as well as different snippets throughout the trailer. You may be wondering why I'm not going to dive deep into shots like this of Emil Pagliarulo writing some of the script for Starfield.
This is the guy, remember I showed you guys this guy? He's the one that Todd Howard credits for like writing the dragon language and the Fusroda and the chants and the da 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 da, all the lyrics for that. This is the writer at the core of all of that. Like, this is the guy that's responsible for Skyrim, also responsible for Fallout 4. We all know how that went, but this is the guy at the center of it. So he's very, very important. And if you don't know who, what we pointed out before, so he has had a bit of a transformation. Very good one. A very, very good one. He's actually lost a crap ton of weight. And he's gotten like super buff. Like this is him now. Okay. He's actually kind of buff. He's pretty swole. You can follow him on like Twitter and stuff. Pretty buff. This is him when he worked on Fallout 3. So he's lost a ton of weight. And he's looking really, really good. So props to him. I mean, that's not easy to do, but he managed to do it. And I mean, it's not common when you're in your like 30s to have this big of a transformation, but he's done very well. So props to him. And he's the guy behind like all of this stuff that you know from all these video games you love. One of the unnamed people that is responsible for a lot of it. So if you like Bethesda stuff, you probably owe a lot of it to this guy. I've actually thought about trying to get him on the... I almost made an oopsie. I've thought about trying to get him on like a video or a stream or something to interview. He probably won't be able to do anything until after Starfield launches, but yeah, it seems like a really, really cool guy. I would give him a lot of crap for for Fallout 4, but still. But this is him here, and I mean, it's cool to see him in work.
The reason for that is this has been out in the wild for ages, as has this shot here. So none of this is new, but what is new is the stuff on the TV in the distance. So let's dive into a lot of that, shall we? Naturally, the who's and what's are going to be tough.
Dude, I'm going to be real. I love YouTube. I love streaming. I love doing all of this stuff. But there's just something nice about having the office where you go in and you just work on your stuff. And working in a studio or an office like this, I think would be so cool. Like going into work here every day. The company gives you coffee and snacks. Dude, when I worked in real estate, our office was in downtown Denver on Broadway. And like I walked in for the first time for my first day, and the floors are all marble and all the walls are glass. Like it was a stupid nice office. Like the Rolls Royce of offices. Like, you could tell they were trying to flex how much money this company made. And yeah, it's all about appearances in real estate brokerage. So they were like, look, see, we're successful as a firm. Look at how fancy our office is. So that was part of it. But it was a super cool place to be and to work. And I kind of miss it. I kind of miss that. I don't miss, like you said, the office politics. I don't miss having a boss who, if you showed up 60 seconds late to a meeting, he could fire you on the spot. I don't miss that. That was toxic. But I miss the building. And I miss, like, seeing the people that I liked and seeing them regularly. That was super cool. So, I don't know. Kashyyyk, why did you leave real estate? Certainly there will be more money than YouTube. You'd be surprised. I'll be real with you. Right now, well, I will say not right now, but like the projections for this year have me making more than a good chunk of the people that worked in that office. Granted, like the owner of the company is worth like, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars probably. So I'm not going to be better than him. He's going to do fine. And he's always, you know, he's going to be well ahead of me for a long time. But it's because he founded this company that's like super, super successful. But in terms of like the other brokers, nothing's trading in real estate right now. No apartment buildings are trading hands except for a very select few. So I got out right at the time that the market kind of crashed. And so now I'm doing better than most of those people. A lot of those guys have left real estate. A lot of the guys that I worked with in that building have left the company and left the industry because stuff stopped trading, and because you're purely commission when you do that, there's no money to be made. One of my old bosses I saw, he's been traveling in Europe for like 3 months straight. He just stopped working because he's like, nothing's happening. I can't do anything. So, okay. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. Let's hear what Todd has to say with his sexy watch that I'm not at all totally jealous of.
Tough to discern, but one of the first things we see over Todd's shoulder is as the camera rotates, there is a human companion following you. We don't know who this is, just that it is a human companion. This is something we could assume was...
That's a good touch. I didn't notice that. Props, Matty. Good spot.
Confirmed, but now we can say for sure is. Previously, before this, the only companion we knew about was Vasco, which was a robot. So this is actually a good thing to have firmed up for us. I wanted to highlight some of the cleanup Bethesda's done. When you compare the animations in this latest trailer versus what we saw last year, things have definitely been polished up a lot. And you can see the delay, even from afar, is actually starting to pay off. Down to the sprinting. Heck, even the jetpack animations you'll see here. I mean, it's a world of a difference as you see your character ebb left and right. It seems far more responsive, which is exactly...
Yeah, see what I mean? This footage was freaking ugly. Might just be the planet they're on, but like, I feel like it looks way better in this footage behind him.
Exactly what
this looks like shit. This looks horrible. So I'm glad they've seemingly made improvements. And it's like this, we talked last stream about when people make, like, they justify things that are problems because they think it's justified in the world or in the writing or whatever. I think it was when we were looking at the review of Fallout 76 that gave it like a 92. It was like a 92 out of 100 review for Fallout 76 from launch of Fallout 76. And the guy is like, I don't have a problem with all of these things because I didn't mind it. Or I don't have a problem with there not being human NPCs because it's Fallout. And it doesn't make sense for there to be a ton of people wandering the wastes. So I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with small player server sizes because it's something that, like, I don't mind. I like having my own time to explore the map. Like, it was all this justification and pleading things away. But with this, it was kind of a similar thing. In space... or in on planets without like heavy atmospheres, there's nothing for the light waves to bounce against. So you don't get ambient lighting in the same way, or global illumination in the same way that you get on Earth, where like there can be a light that, like the sun, where it's shining directly on a tree, but under the tree, you can still see like the grass underneath it or the trunk of the tree, even though no light is directly hitting it. It's because it's lighting all of the air particles around the tree, and that spreads the light into the tree so you can still see it. out in space, that's not a thing. There's nothing for the light to bounce around on planets with like no atmosphere. So here you could look at like the bad shadows and the fact that in areas that aren't well lit, it's like totally black and you lose all detail. You could look at that and be like, well, that's just a matter of accuracy, right? You could say, no, that's not a bug. That's a feature, right? That's not a bug. That's a feature. But my problem with these types of like justifications is that they get to choose what this planet's atmosphere is like. They get to choose how this works. And honestly, like if they're choosing to go to a planet and rather to show a planet as part of their advertising campaign that has an atmosphere like this, they should be prepared for people to say it looks ugly or the shadows look weird, because the shadows do look weird on planets with no atmosphere or little atmosphere compared to Earth. So it's still like the perception is going to be affected. It's just a bad decision for the marketing. Let the players go and explore these planets, but you shouldn't make it your like the centerpiece of your marketing campaign, because it's too much explaining. Like it's too much. So all of that to say, I'm glad to see that the game looks better now. I would say. What's wrong with the shadows? Like I said, where the light isn't directly hitting it, all details lost. It completely blacks out, which is probably a matter of accuracy. It actually is probably a feature, not a bug. However, when you're marketing the game, all players will see when looking at this is that it just looks off. The shadows look off. It looks weirdly contrasty. The quality of like the lighting doesn't seem right. It just looks bad to the human eye. But it looks bad to the human eye because we're used to the planet Earth. And so we're used to light bouncing in a certain way. But on another planet, it doesn't bounce that way. Which is why when you're advertising and showing the game off and you're trying to make the game just look good, it's probably not useful to go to a planet where things will look off.
We want, and it shows that, again, the delay is really
And God, this combat was so bad.
paying off. Now, separate from that is actually looting. We already knew the looting in Starfield would work much like Fallout 4. You look at the object, you look at the body, the loot box will pop up on screen, so you don't have to go menu to menu to menu. In this game,
By the way, it's one of the best mods you can download for Fallout New Vegas is that Fallout 4 loot mod. If you have not played Fallout New Vegas with that loot mod, do it. Download it on PC. It's super quick and easy. Get it through Vortex or whatever. And oh my God, it'll change your life for Fallout New Vegas. So much better. Just do yourself a favor, download that loot mod, and it's great. It's great. No joke. No punchline. Just do it.
functions much of the same, but I noticed the UI coloring, the bordering was a bit different. It seemed almost pink/purple, and I noticed that throughout the entire video that there were almost separate variations of it. Now, in Fallout 4, you could change the UI color.
Yeah, this is what I'm seeing. It looks like they changed the UI color for here. It also, honestly, probably... Yeah, because that's white. What this looks like to me is that they, it's the white balance of the camera. I think that that's what this is. I don't think it's that the UI is actually changed. I wouldn't be surprised if you can change the color of the UI, but this to me looks like color shifted white. It doesn't look like a different purpley color. Assuming it doesn't inhale my own throat. So to me, this looks like it's just a white balance difference. And I mean, considering the quality of the filming they're doing for Todd, I would guess that they probably filmed this raw and then using like gray cards, which are like this. I use these for color balancing. This is like a true gray. So this color gray is a very precise color that doesn't possess any blues, reds, greens, nothing like that. So you film raw and then you capture these cards on camera and then you can color correct to true white so things look the most accurate. And that's a very common practice in cinematography if you know anything about balancing your color and film. So I would guess that's what they did, and as a result this got color shifted and so it doesn't look quite white, but it is. If you were in the room, it probably looks white, I would guess.
of your Pip-Boy, and thus it would change the color of your reticle and so on and so forth. So I think that may be a confirmed feature here in Starfield, but we have yet to see for certain. Now we're finally getting a much more generous camera angle here where we can see the gameplay up close and personal. I love the Adam Cat's hat on this dude's desk, but what I love a little bit more, I'm going to be honest, is the fact that Bethesda is finally doing it. The absolute madmen are adding revolvers. Many people wanted revolvers in Starfield. It's been a request of the community for a while, and we are indeed seeing that. I mean, look at the barrel on that bad boy. Nice and long. We also get a look at...
Nice and long. I need somebody to clip Matty saying nice and long. I need that on my soundboard. I could do it now, but it would... I think it'd be difficult to precise. Screw it, we're doing it.
Indeed, seeing that. I mean, look at the barrel on that bad boy. Nice and long. We also...
Okay, hold on. And then we go here. And then we go sampler. Bottom right.
Nice and long.
Matty, you can't take me anywhere.
Nice and long.
Okay. What's nice and long?
Moi, moi.
Okay.
To get a look at some other planets, like this more arid region I was speaking of earlier, we can see a nice arch over there. This very alien-like looking planet. We also know from last year that you can fly your ship closer to the surface, so I wonder if that's a little gap you could fly between. That'd be pretty cool. And then we see the everyone's favorite planet, the space dinosaur planet that I think is gonna blow everyone's mind.
I gotta give him a shout out. This like Xbox dev kit, how cool is that? This is what developers use to make your games, the games you love. This is what it is. You notice it's like it's nice. It's got two tones, but really for me it's the dimensions, because it's not just like it kind of looks like a 1x, but it also just in general looks
nice and long. We get another look at that.
Matty.
It looks absolutely beautiful compared to everything else we've seen. This one looks truly stunning. Now this screen here, this is the juicy one. We're looking at the inventory menu for Starfield. Why is it so juicy? Number one.
Dude, 2 juicies in a row? Matty, you're spoiling us. This actually, I'll be real. I don't really love this this inventory list. This is really freaking confusing. It's like, so we've got this thermal... Azimazone, maybe Asmon. I can't read what that is. It's just too blurry. Mass, value, maybe conductive, radiation, maybe. I'm not sure, but it's got these different stats tied to it. And then you see in the inventory under helmets, they've got all of these different things. I don't know what DR means. Does anyone know what DR might mean? Defense rating, maybe? I don't know. I can't help but notice that the mass, he's carrying up to 1,100 units. Damage resistance, that would make sense. Damage resistance, Explorer space helmet versus like a pilot space helmet. Okay, so I could see that maybe having higher defense ratings. Okay. But yeah, this UI is kind of, I'm not sure how I feel about it. It's still better than the Pip-Boy, I'll give him that. Could be, I think it's a lot better than Pip-Boy, but that's not saying much because the Pip-Boy was, it was icky. Could be space storage, or ship storage, that's true.
One, thank God it's nothing like Destiny. I see so many Destiny UI copycats. I'm glad this one is actually calling back to one of Bethesda's older games, Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Sound familiar? Yeah, I've said that a lot in the past, that there are so many things mechanically speaking that remind me in Starfield of Oblivion. Now you're going to see a little drop down.
What does the Destiny UI look like? Am I just like totally spoiled? Destiny 2 UI. Oh, okay. Yeah, I totally see it. I totally see it. Oh no, this is a UI concept. Okay, then is this the actual? This is the actual UI? Can I not? I just actually created a bookmark. Yeah, this is something. Is this actually, did this start with Destiny? Because like every game for the last 5 years has done this. Like even Assassin's Creed, this jumps out at me as very Assassin's Creed. Even Assassin's Creed, like Origins did this, which was 2017, right around the time that Destiny. Well, Destiny 2 was Destiny 2 2017 as well. So maybe it did all start with the original Destiny. I don't know. If they did start it, yeah, I mean, I'm down for them to change this, because everything from Assassin's Creed to Destiny to Hogwarts Legacy uses this UI now. So I would be down for that shakeup. I get that it's different, but I mean, I don't really like the way this is laid out. The font is also kind of clunky, but nah.
The menu here, labeled
Maybe I'm
helmets,
just-
meaning that
maybe
there are
that's
going to
just
be
me.
filters within your inventory for all different pieces of armor, and I imagine weapons, so you can filter through them a bit quicker. But also, I like how there are multiple different types of helmets here. This is great because it's a defining feature on your character. It's something you're going to love to see in third person. And what you're also going to love to know is that if you're on a planet that is breathable, there is actually a tab that you can hit on the bottom that says RB to hide your helmet on breathable planets. It's just a nice little bit of attention to detail here, because third person, I love in Bethesda Game Studios games. People used to slander me on using that a lot, but I think it's great. And so to know that they have that little...
I like the addition. I generally play them first person. I'll be real. I don't know. Maybe we should do a poll. How many of you guys play first person versus third? Hold on, I'll do a poll. Let's see what you guys say. What's your primary means of playing? Do you mainly play first person or third person? If it's like, you might play both a lot, but I need to know, what do you lean more towards? Lean first? Lean third? Which is it?
feature
Let me know.
nice and long there is good for people like me. And for those who also like attention to detail here, I actually noticed some of the Starfield fans on Twitter and Reddit were catching that they changed the name of weight, which you're typically accustomed to in inventory, to mass.
Good touch. Good touch, because weight is specific to whatever gravitational force is on that particular body at the time. So mass is a more universal term. I like that.
And people were writing that actually weight changes with the gravity while mass doesn't. So that's why they're actually using mass, so that it can work in other environments with different gravities.
Exactly. Can you imagine how confusing it would be if your weight, like your weight load, changed based on which planet you were on? Honestly, that probably makes sense. If you're on a planet with more gravity, increased gravity, so you can't jump as high, flying your ship requires more fuel, it would probably make sense to decrease the weight load. But maybe they just found that for players that would be overly complicated. It's another example of something where, like, if they want to be really accurate, they would have the weight capacity change based on the gravitational force of the planet you're on. But it could just be in game testing and in testing with players. They have not found that that's fun, and maybe that's just overly complicated. So like, it would be accurate, but it wouldn't be fun for a video game, you know? Yeah, weight is calculated based on gravitational acceleration. Mass is constant. Yeah, exactly. So mass is going to be the same whether you're in space, in zero gravity, or on like Earth or on the moon or wherever. It's going to be the same, but weight is going to change. If you count, like, just think of it in like the simplest terms. If you're on the moon and you stand on a scale, the moon is like what, 1/8 gravity of Earth or something like that. I don't know. Alexa, how strong is the moon's gravity versus Earth's?
The moon's surface gravity is 1.622 meters per second squared.
1.622, I think is what she said. So, and here on Earth, it's 8 meters per second, or 8.7 meters, or something like that. So it's about an eighth. But anyway, or a sixth, maybe, like a sixth of the Earth's gravity, something like that. But it's like, if you stood on the scale on the moon, your weight would only show up if you're, you know, like, if you're 200 pounds, you'll show up as significantly lighter on the moon versus on Earth. Whereas like on Earth, you know, you'll still weigh in at the full 200. Whereas mass would be the same on the moon versus the Earth, which is why it's a good change to swap to mass. I appreciate that. You set off my thing. Oh, I'm sorry. Earth is 9.81 meters per second square. Okay. 9.8. What did I say? I said like 8.6 or something. I don't know what I said. But yeah, 9.8 meters per second squared. Yeah, it's been a while since I took a physics class, but something like that.
Just a small thing most people won't care about, but to me it shows that extra level of thought that Bethesda's using. You also see that all of the helmets are for various factions: the Explorer space helmet, the Mercenary space helmet, the Navigator space helmet, the Pirate Assault space helmet, Shock Troop space helmet, Space Trucker space helmet, the Pilot space helmet, the Trackers Alliance space helmet. So it seems like pretty much every faction or person you can be has their own armor set. That is very nice to see. There are also various resistances labeled on the top right corner of the screen.
Thermal, corrosive, irradiation, radiation, maybe something like that.
We see physical, energy, as well as thermal, corrosive, airborne, and radiation, with all
Airborne, okay.
varying numbers there. I think this again plays into the fact that Starfield's going to have multiple planets with multiple characteristics, so these will all be useful in different situations, which means you'll be switching out your armor sets potentially far more often than you were in previous Bethesda Game Studios games, which I like because that's kind of a little Breath of the Wild flair where you would have to change if you were in a cold area or a hot area. I'm hoping they're actually going to do that here to make these planets feel truly believable. All right, we got 2 more closing shots and then we are done here. First and foremost, we see this absolutely terrifying looking creature, one that we did spot during the Starfield gameplay reveal last year, or at least something alien like it. But the one that we're seeing here in this latest trailer is called the Hunting Maggot Maw. It's level 75, which does...
How the hell do you see Hunting Maggot Maw? Is this from another frame or something? Because how the... like, what? I don't get it. First person, by the way, first person wins the poll. 65% of you saying you prefer first person, 35% preferring third. That's, I mean, honestly, that's probably about where I would guess, like 2/3 preferring first person versus third. I would guess a ton of you guys play both and kind of swap between it depending, because that's kind of how I am. I'm much more inclined to do third person if I'm going to use it while exploring and like walking around in the open world, but I'm very unlikely to use it if I'm inside a building or in combat or anything like that. So that's about what I would expect. So props. Thank you everybody who voted.
Does indicate that Bethesda is at least putting the level cap up to that, which is nice to see. Given that Fallout 4 you could endlessly level up, that's good. I'm just happy to see, if you will, endgame content, higher level enemy content, because that means that there will be more to see deeper into the game, I imagine. This last shot, I think, is really important because we see here that the player discovers a location that looks like it's called the Mars Mech Factory. I think this is important because now it shows that all of that gameplay we were seeing over Todd Howard's shoulder was on Mars, which we also saw in the gameplay reveal where we saw the main character pass the Mars rover. So between endgame content and potentially starting game content and things we're familiar with, Starfield is going for it all, and I am stoked. But that's everything I could find in these little snippets of the trailers, as well as narratively speaking, pulling it all together. So I hope you found this useful, and I hope that the most useful part is also down in the comments below. I love seeing you all post your own discoveries down there in case there was anything I did miss, which is always possible.
I don't know, man. I'm pretty impressed. It's looking better and better. It's looking better and better. I don't know. It's looking better. I'm much more inclined to be excited after this revelation. Before I was really iffy, but now I'm getting more interested, and I think that there's more to this that looks good. So I think they're starting to impress me more and more. I'm still not going to give them the benefit of the doubt because last time they basically scammed their customers out of millions of dollars, but I'm relatively interested. I'll give them that. Really juicy. Yeah, really juicy and
nice and long.
I'm sorry, Matty. I'm gonna send Matty like a tweet or something. I'm like, hey, you want to do a collab? And he's like, no, I don't. I'm good. I'm done. I'm sick of it.